23 years old doing dialysis. Tapi tengok-tengok she had diabetic type 2 yang jadi sangat teruk, lepas tu dia kena buat dialysis. So I think the nutrition part we really don't give so much importance, but when it's sangat-sangat penting.
84.1% of Malaysian is obese or overweight. 30 minit 5 kali seminggu. But you can ask lah Malaysian, do they do exercise 5 times a week?
Encik, puan exercise tak? Ada exercise tak? Doktor, saya berkebun doktor. So I'm like, no. Puan ataupun encik ada ambil masa tak untuk exercise, untuk berjalan, brisk walking? Okay, doktor, saya selalu jalan dekat dalam rumah. So actually kita tak faham konsep yang exercise tu apa. So kita buat kerja biasa, kita akan accept, kita akan fikir yang tu exercise. Tapi bukan sebenarnya.
125 minutes per week you kena do exercise untuk lose weight. Tapi dia akan sampai satu masa when you lose weight tu, you akan plateau. Beberapa tips yang I pernah try and it works on myself. Usually I will have like at least 10 minutes a breather. Kalau I tengah overwhelmed, banyak sangat kerja, sometimes you are very stressed, tengok patient, and then you do a breather. I mean you take time lah, like 10 minutes. You minum air and then you take a deep breath, okay? And then remind yourself, why are you doing this?
So hari ni di Health Talks kita bersama dengan dietitian Filza. So Filza akan ceritakan beberapa benda mengenai nutrition. So Filza, please tell about yourself.
Okay, thank you for having me today. My name is Nur Filza. I'm a dietitian currently working in Hospital Encik Besar Haji Kalsum, Kluang. So I've been a dietitian since 2018. So it's about, I think, 7 years I've worked as a dietitian. Today, Dr. Javita invited me to talk about more on nutrition and also diet. So basically for general health and also other things. Yeah, balanced diet.
And it's really good to have you here. Okay, Filza, actually recently only I got to know ada beza between nutrition dengan dietitian.
Nutritionist.
Yes, nutritionist dengan dietitian. Okay. So Filza, please jelaskan. So setahu saya, nutrition is for general population yang sihat. Dietitian is more specified for people with yang ada masalah kesihatan. So please explain.
KKM or Ministry of Health, kita memang ada dua lah, which is pegawai dietetik, which is a dietitian. And another one we have pegawai sains pemakanan, which is a nutritionist. Okay, so in university also we have two different program, nutrition degree and also dietetics degree, right? So basically apa yang dietitian buat is actually personalized medical nutrition therapy. Kita nak make sure patients punya diet therapy or nutrition therapy is actually personalized to patient based on their comorbidities ataupun dia punya penyakit lah. Contoh, if let's say patient is diabetic ke, ada hypertension or chronic kidney disease. So we plan the diet or based on their routine, eating routine, and also other things that we can tailor according to their personalized lifestyle. Nutritionist dia lebih kepada community based. Alright, so they do a lot of health promotion punya event, and also when they did consultation with a patient, it's more towards general health. Okay, alright. So but dietitian also can do that, but we don't take each other's work. So but we work together. So we work together. If let's say pegawai sains pemakanan or nutritionist seeing patient, if let's say in klinik kesihatan, usually they are seeing kids yang ada masalah kenaikan berat badan. So if let's say after seeing nutritionist, there's no progress, meaning the kid doesn't gain weight. So they will refer the patient to the specialist clinic in hospital. So the specialist will refer to dietitian in hospital.
So overall, like dietitian is more specific lah. So dengan masalah kesihatan yang kita ada, so we can get a better nutrition and more specified nutrition lah dengan like dietitian.
Personalized,
yes. Okay, so like when we are talking about nutrition kan, so for me, saya rasa peranan nutrition is sangat penting in overall kesihatan. Because I love this saying where they say if you don't take your food as medicine, you will take medicine as your food. Memang actually sekarang sangat happening. Because ramai patient saya datang, diorang akan tunjuk saya 10 pills. CVA akan ada orang akan diabetes, hypertension, cholesterol, so many medication. So macam mana kita boleh menggunakan nutrition untuk kesihatan keseluruhan?
The nutrition is actually sangat penting. It's very important sebabnya there's a saying, you are what you eat.
Yes,
right?
correct.
Alright. So if let's say you're eating trash, you cannot expect your body to cook.
Retemper.
Yeah, I mean, cook healthily, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, so our body ni Tuhan dah jadikan is very amazing, right? So they have the specific nutrients that they need to thrive, right? I think nutrition is very important in a way that you would, to maintain your mood, your hormones, all the biological process in your body, it would require nutrients, certain parts of nutrients that they need to carry out the process, right? So if let's say you are eating a lot on some things but you are lacking in terms of something, so your body will compensate that. So in the long run, dia akan sakit lah.
Betul.
So because overuse. So some of the organs they akan overuse because you don't take you take some of the nutrients too much, right? Some of the nutrients lacking. So sometimes bila your body compensate tu, lama-lama in long term, sometimes it's not even old age. Sometimes now I've seen diabetic patient at the age of 20, 25.
Yes. Even I recently had one patient, 23 years old, but already CKD patient.
Yeah.
ESRF patient and doing dialysis. Bila saya tanya, because I was thinking patient had something when she was born with. Tapi tengok-tengok she had diabetic type 2. Yang jadi sangat teruk that dia punya kidney failure, lepas tu dia kena buat dialysis. So I think the nutrition part we really don't give so much importance, but when it's sangat-sangat penting.
And recently, I think the National Health Mobility Survey in Malaysia 2023, the statistic is 54.1% of Malaysian is either overweight or obese.
Yes, I just read about it also.
Yeah.
So it's kind of scary. I think kita menang lah compared to US. US also 40% or something, kan?
I think in Southeast Asia, we are the first country. Top 1 country with obesity.
Terlalu gembira.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot blame lah. I mean, Malaysian food is it's very nice.
Exactly the point.
Yeah.
We have too much of good food that we can't stop eating.
Yeah.
Tak boleh blame Tapi I think we really need to control that part. So okay, when we already talking about nutrition kan, so yang sangat common kita dengar tu micro and macronutrient. So Reza, please explain a bit about it.
So macronutrients, our body needs 3, which is
protein,
the main protein, carbohydrates, and also fat.
Yes.
So our body use carbohydrate as the main source of energy.
Betul.
Okay. So second, protein and also protein is important for cell
muscle building,
and also your hormones, your antibodies and stuff. And so fat is actually good fat. Right, it is important for body insulation, right? Good fat is also good for your heart also.
Yes.
Right? So the main part is I want to highlight here is actually the healthy fats. Right? So it doesn't matter if let's say you are taking protein, carbs and fat, but you have to make sure it's all balanced, right? So when you eat balanced meal, and then you cover the micronutrients part, the small nutrients, the 28 micronutrients and vitamins that you need in your body every day. So if let's say you are eating a healthy and balanced diet throughout the day, you won't have to be worrying about the micronutrients part, the small part, because your body will need like only small amounts of the micronutrient. That's why it's called micro. Right?
Okay.
Right? So if let's say you are eating a balanced diet, most probably the micronutrient part is already covered. But and then you have to come back to the macronutrients part, where you have to make sure the distribution of the macronutrient is not I mean, the main one is not too overwhelmed that you don't have to eat the proteins and also fats. Right? So in Malaysian diet, usually I will see in my patient in my clinic, there were, for Malaysian lah, usually in the morning breakfast, they will tend to eat more carbs
Yes.
and there's no protein, right? Or lesser protein. I mean that there's no or lesser protein, and then they compensate the protein part with carbohydrate so that they will feel fuller, right? So if let's say you imagine you are eating a one plate of nasi lemak and half boiled egg, only half of the egg, right? Or
Yes.
quarter,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
And then
Nowadays it's only quarter. We don't get half also.
yeah, so it's like quarter of the half boiled egg, right? And then you compare when you are eating one plate of one plate of nasi lemak and ayam goreng and also telur rebus 2 biji with the
Sayur sikit.
sayur like timun or kangkung rebus or something you eat. So which one you feel fuller?
The one
Of course with the protein and also fiber, right? So when you don't have that protein and fiber, so you nak kenyang. So bila you nak kenyang, you akan compensate with more
Carbs.
nasi. You will eat more nasi. Doesn't necessarily. I'm not saying nasi is the culprit here.
No,
right?
yes.
No.
Yes.
So you can eat nasi, but you have to make sure what you eat together with your nasi is actually balanced, so that you don't compensate banyak dekat nasi. Macam tu.
Sangat like Fiza cakap tadi, nasi is not bad. So because most of the time saya akan dapat soalan ni, doktor saya makan nasi 3 kali sehari, okay ke, boleh ke, tak boleh ke? So I was like depends on what are you eating it with. So kuantiti nasi itu berapa banyak, apa yang encik ataupun puan makan dengan tu. Itu yang sangat penting. So rice as it is, saya tak akan cakap it's unhealthy. Sebab saya Indian lah, saya makan nasi, I need rice.
Rice is our staple food.
Yes. I cannot be without rice.
Yeah.
So I think it is very important sebab kita dah ada stigma tu. Nasi is bad. You cannot eat rice. Rice is fattening. But actually it's not very true. It's more of what are you eating with rice.
Yeah, and also the portion size.
Yes. So the portion and what are you eating it with. Yang tu yang penting. So I think a lot of people don't have that much of understanding.
Betul.
So kalau macam food basis and all, so Filza, kita always relatekan food with weight loss, weight gain.
Weight loss and weight gain.
Okay. So kalau macam ni, how do we navigate nutrition with weight loss and weight gain?
Okay, alright. So first thing you need to know about weight loss and weight gain, you have to see your BMI.
Yeah.
Where do you stand? Right? So now I think last 2 years in 2022, I think KKM produced a clinical practice guideline, a new one on obesity.
Yes.
If I'm not sure whether it's 2022 or 2023.
I think it's 23.
Yeah. I think it's 2022 is diabetic. Alright. So the new CPG highlight the new range of BMI for Asian population.
Yes.
Alright. So usually before this we know that okay, BMI
25.
Yeah,
Okay, lagi.
25 and above is overweight.
Yes.
30 and above is obese class 1, and
True.
above 35 is obese class 2, and then above 40 is obese class 3. But not so true anymore for Asian. Right? So the new research says that Asian population will get a chronic or non-communicable disease at the lower BMI. Alright, so they decided a consensus Asian population, they have to reduce the BMI range. So the normal range starts from 18.5 up to 22.9 only. The normal BMI.
You know, and listening to that this one kan, semua orang dah ramai dah dapat heart attack sekarang dah.
Betul. I think and also that because of the new range of the BMI, that's why our NHMS punya survey 54.1% of Malaysian is obese or overweight because of the new guidelines of the BMI. Right? So I think obese is 27.5 up to class 1, obesity class 1 27.5 up to 32.5.
Okay.
Alright, so obese class 2 is 32.5 up to 37.5 and more above 37.5 is chronic obesity lah, obesity class 3. Okay, so I want to highlight the normal range of BMI is actually now shortened.
Yes.
I mean the scale got smaller. It's 18.5 up to 22.9. Everyone was like, why do you do that? Right? Tapi
because we already like, kalau kita tengok 24, 25
okay lagi.
You can console yourself. Sekarang dah 22, like everyone will be like freaking out.
23 pun dah overweight. 24 pun dah overweight. I was like, macam mana ni?
Betul.
But the new research says that the Asian population will get higher risk of non-communicable disease at a lower BMI. And also the guidelines for waist circumference also is quite scary for Asian.
Really?
Yeah, so men is only 90 cm.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wasn't it 140 before? How much was it before?
120.
120. Okay.
So for men is 90 cm and for women is 80 cm.
Sure.
You don't know how difficult it is to maintain a waist circumference of less than 80.
Yes.
It's very difficult, right? With our foods and everything, right?
I think they should take into consideration the food part.
Yeah.
Non-communicable disease ialah sakit yang tidak berjangkit macam kencing manis, darah tinggi, hypertension, kolesterol, semua tu. So yang tu yang non-communicable disease tu, yang Filzah tengah bercerita.
And this penyakit tidak berjangkit ni dia tak ada physical symptoms up to at the point yang bila dah teruk.
Betul.
Kan?
Bila kita tak, when we don't expect it and we don't know, masa tu baru kita akan find out, oh we really have problem ni, kita ada masalah ni, macam tu.
That's why it's very important makcik-makcik ataupun patient lah, yang kalau doktor bagi appointment dekat klinik kesihatan, every 3 months you have to go.
Yes.
And take your blood. Even though there's nothing, macam doktor tak ubah pun ubat, sama je ubat, but the important thing is actually investigation of your blood. Nak tengok you punya darah tu, bacaan darah tu is actually maintaining or not. Kalau tak maintain, meaning there's some parts yang makin tak okay ke apa ke, then doctors will do something about it lah.
So yang benda yang bagus tu, kalau yang tak berubah tu lah yang bagus. Sebab you sihat, kita tak perlu tukar. So yang benda tu yang penting. So kalau kita ambil darah, kita tengok something is not alright, kita memang akan tukarkan ubat. So biasanya kalau tak tukar tu benda yang bagus.
Betul.
So yang tu semua orang kena tahu. Kalau tak berubah, ya ubat you tak berubah, your blood looks okay, that's a good thing.
Yes. So for weight loss, if let's say you are standing on the overweight part or the obese part, okay, so you want to lose weight, right? So bila kata you nak lose weight ni, the concept of weight loss is actually calorie yang you makan kena kurang daripada kalori yang you guna, badan you guna. So it means ni kita panggil adalah, terms ni kita panggil calorie deficit ataupun deficit kalori lah. Alright. So meaning like contoh lah, I bagi contoh, your body needs 1,500 calorie per day to function, right? Based on your lifestyle and also your daily activities and everything. And kalau you nak weight loss, you have to eat lesser than that, but not too less. Right? So maybe you can cut up to 200 or 300 200 to 300 calorie. So if let's say your body needs 1,005 calorie, you eat up to 1,002. Right? So there's a gap there, calorie deficit. Alright? And also you can do the calorie deficit based on diet, and another one is exercising.
Yes.
Okay? Because if let's say you move more, you exercise more, you burn more calories. Okay? So there will be more deficit. If let's say your body needs 1,005, you eat 1,002. You cannot eat lesser than 1,200 because your body still need nutrients to function, right?
Betul.
Okay, so if let's say you want to burn more calorie, you want to ada deficit calorie tu yang gap dia yang lagi besar, you have to exercise more. That's why dalam CPG tu, they said untuk maintaining weight, you have to exercise 150 minutes per week.
Per week?
That's for maintaining your weight.
Okay.
150 minit
seminggu.
Setiap minggu untuk maintain je berat. Okay, so kalau kita bahagikan every day, it will be around 30 minit 5 kali seminggu. But you can ask lah Malaysian, do they do exercise 5 times a week?
Something come up to my mind when you said this. Encik, puan exercise tak? Ada exercise tak? Doktor, saya berkebun, doktor. So I'm like, no. Puan ataupun encik ada ambil masa tak untuk exercise, untuk berjalan, brisk walking? Okay, doktor, saya selalu jalan dekat dalam rumah. So actually kita tak faham konsep yang exercise tu apa. So kita buat kerja biasa, kita akan accept, kita akan fikir yang tu exercise. Tapi bukan sebenarnya. So pasal tu it's like it's good to know all these terms, you know.
Betul.
To get professional advice and all. Sebab biasanya kita akan fikir the more we move is better, which is true, but you need to know what are you moving for.
Yes.
So kalau kita cuma jalan-jalan je pun, tapi kalau kita berbeza dengan kita pergi brisk walking,
Betul.
kita pergi jogging, berbeza. So kita kena tahu benda tu.
Yes. Dalam CBG tu pun dia ada mention, it's actually definition of exercise ataupun maksud senaman tu is actually secluded time. You
Correct.
spend at least 30 minit every day, you asingkan from your daily routine untuk exercise. You specializekan that for exercising. Macam tu. So in CPG as well, if let's say you want to lose weight, they say you have to do at least 225 minutes of exercise per day.
Okay.
That one I think exercise we can prescribe like that. But for diet, you cannot prescribe. You eat 1,500, 1,200 because it differs. I mean it's individualized lah, dia personalized. Sebab tinggi you tak sama dengan tinggi I.
Betul.
Betul tak? Berat you tak sama dengan berat I. So it's different. Tapi in terms of lifestyle, macam exercise, how you move, you boleh bagi prescribe like 225 minutes per week. You kena do exercise untuk lose weight. Okay? Tapi dia akan sampai satu masa when you lose weight tu, you akan plateau.
Betul.
Yeah, so when you lose weight and then dia akan graph tu dia akan plateau. So when you plateau, sebab plateau tu actually because your metabolism is actually adapting. Bila you be in a calorie deficit punya state, your metabolism shock. Kenapa dia makan sikit? Cannot. We have to burn more calorie. I mean, we need more calorie.
Okay.
So they burn more fat. Alright? So they burn fat. Okay, and then up to one point, your metabolism adapt. Okay, dia makan banyak ni je. So kita bakar banyak ni je lah. So when your metabolism adapt, so that's the plateau part.
Yes.
Okay, so macam I dah jaga diet, I dah exercise. Why I don't lose any more weight? Right? Stress lah, I tak turun berat. Kenapa kan? Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So then you have to shock again your metabolism. How you do that? You increase the intensity of your exercise. Because you cannot eat lesser than that.
Betul.
Because your body needs nutrients. The lesser, I mean the less part lah. I think kalau macam patient is not very big, usually I will give around 1,200 minimum, right? The low calorie diet. But if let's say you nak buat very low calorie diet, you kena monitor blood and everything every week. So it is tedious work. Monitoring banyak. Kalau yang buat sendiri, most probably you can maintain at 1,200, right? But you become lethargic lah, you akan penat, you akan jadi macam jadi tak larat and everything the first few weeks or months. Okay? Alright, so bila you shock again, I mean kalau you eat 1,500 pun, kalau you do more exercise, you can be in calorie deficit gap tu yang banyak. So kalau you nak shock your metabolism tu, do more exercise. It's 330 minutes.
330 minutes. Okay.
Right. And it's a combination and cardio and also strength training. Because sometimes bila kita lose weight ni, it's not about losing weight only. Kita nak maintain our muscle mass.
Betul.
Okay. Because even though you are, I mean kalau you kurus pun, tapi you tak ada muscle, you become sarcopenic. It's a new term lah.
Yes,
new research.
Kekurangan muscle mass.
Okay. So bila you kurang muscle mass, your body akan, orang kata apa? Dia akan ada high risk of developing kencing manis, darah tinggi, kolesterol, even though you kurus.
Betul.
Sometimes my patient come to me, BMI normal, tapi kolesterol very high.
Sangat common.
Yeah? So doesn't mean that gemuk doesn't necessarily you are unhealthy, but kurus also doesn't necessarily you healthy.
Betul.
Tapi gemuk is actually sometimes high risk untuk tak sihat tu sangat tinggi. Okay. So I think both part kena ada juga. Weight gain, sometimes people are struggling to gain weight, right?
Yes.
Tapi a lot of my patient struggling to lose weight.
I think lose weight is sangat common lah.
Yeah.
Sangat
Right?
common.
So I think in terms of a diet, you have to see the total calorie that you take, and also the energy out tu is your exercise lah. So you have to see lah, you tengok kalau kata contoh you tak ada masa nak buat 30 minit every day, right? So maybe you kan ada 2 hari atau 3 hari je seminggu untuk you exercise. You do a longer time lah. Maksudnya kalau 30 minit kali dengan 3, so 160 minit, 90 minit. So 1 jam setengah you do exercise. Not necessarily you kena berlari laju ke. No, it's according to your physical stamina. Kalau you rasa macam you boleh mampu jalan je, jalan.
Betul.
At least kalau you ada 10 minit for every day, you have to move. Kalau you tak move, you tak start, esok lah Januari 2025 lah, a new year resolution lah. It doesn't work like that.
Yes, I think it's the very very common thing lah to say hari esok lah. Esok ataupun resolution.
Minggu depan lah.
Betul, Monday.
After cuti lah, after raya lah.
Betul, sangat common, Monday.
Yeah.
So kalau macam, sebab we are talking about weight gain, weight loss and all this kan. So Firza, kadang-kadang kita sangat bertekad untuk kita memang follow the diet, kita memang buat exercise, all these things. So suddenly there will come a time kita stress eat. Sebab kita akan binge eat, kita akan stress eat. So yang tu macam mana nak control?
Okay. About emotional eating ni, it's very controversial also. Because I think this part you have to train yourself. Okay. One thing is untuk emotional ataupun stress eating, you have to be in touch with yourself. Kalau contoh you stress, I faham because I'm a human. We are all humans, right? So we have this kind of like struggles, right? So kita diet jaga makan, lepas tu ada satu masa tu stress kerja atau penat kerja.
Betul.
I mean macam, I letih, I tak makan tengah hari. So I nak kena makan something yang sedap to treat myself. Okay. One thing is you have to be in touch with yourself. This requires training. You kena latih diri you. Okay. So kalau you stress, you tanya yourself. Kenapa you nak makan? Sometimes kalau macam I stress hari ni, I nak makan kek. See? Kan? You nak makan kek sebab you nak makan kek ke because of your stress? So you have to, sometimes bila you tanya diri you, just like, okay, hari ni sebab stress, so nak makan. Okay, right. So there are so many ways to actually release your stress.
Yes, true.
Not depending on food. Alright. So because sebab kita takkan boleh lari pada stress. Every day we will face stress, tapi the way we manage this stress. Okay. I tak cakap you kata kalau you stress you nak makan kek, you tak boleh makan. Tak boleh. But you don't allow yourself that too many times. But once you allow yourself, you have to be, that's why this is like self-control. You have to train yourself to have this kind of self-control. Sebab kalau you tak ada self-control, hari ni stress makan kek, lusa stress makan kek, lepas tu stress makan ice cream. So very frequent you treat yourself because of that. Because you handling your stress poorly.
Yes.
Alright? So the main issue is actually the handling of stress. Okay? So how you handling your stress ni, I can suggest several tips yang I pernah try and it works on myself. Usually I will have like at least 10 minutes a breather. Kalau I tengah overwhelmed, banyak sangat kerja, sometimes you are very stressed, tengok patient, and then you do a breather. I mean you take time lah, like 10 minutes. You minum air and then you take a deep breath. Okay, and then remind yourself, why are you doing this? What is it for? Alright. Sometimes kalau macam kerja in government, sometimes you just like, you rasa macam you tak ada empathy towards patient, you burn out and everything. Sometimes you tend to lash out to your patients, right?
True.
So,
happens.
Yeah, it happens. And also, and my line of work, I have talked with patients. When I'm not in the right state of mind, how do you expect me to talk with my patient? I usually won't talk to my patient. I will scold them, right? So what I do is, usually kalau macam banyak sangat referral, I penat, stress kan, macam okay, rehat dulu 10 minutes. At least duduk kat pantry, minum air, borak-borak dulu. Alright, so after 15 minutes, okay, I dah rasa macam I dah vent out and everything. And then I got up and then see the patient. Alright? So one of the ways I think for you to manage stress is try to, not to ventilate to patients, but you try, ventilate among your colleagues ke, or your trusted people lah. Kalau kat tempat kerja you tak ada kawan ke, no trusted people, maybe you can, kalau you balik kerja, you can text, orang kata apa, atau call, get in touch or communicate with your kata loved ones ke. Or another thing is, what I do is, I try to exercise. At least 10 minutes after, 10 to 15 minutes after work, I go for a walk. Sometimes when you see nature, right, you go outside. Yeah, you go outside of your work space, you feel better.
True.
During lunchtime, you penat, you keluar kejap. Keluar from hospital. You go makan somewhere else, keluar hospital. Then after that, you come back to hospital, something like that. Kalau you tak kerja in hospital environment pun, at least go out from the environment for a while, for lunchtime break, have a break to yourself. Lepas tu, you come, then you get refreshed lah. Macam tu. Ataupun balik kerja tu, you go, do anything, activities yang you feel works for you. That's when you become a yo-yo diet. Overeat that day, it doesn't end there. So, you move on, tomorrow, promise yourself to be a better version. So, you feel like, okay, I'm going to choose better, I'm going to eat healthier, I'm going to eat today, I'm going to eat. It's every day. You have to renew that motivation.
One bad meal, sometimes it takes so much toll on the mental health, you know. Kita akan rasa sangat bersalah, kita akan rasa guilty, kita akan rasa sedih, kita akan rasa marah, just because one meal.
Yes.
Like Filzah said, esok is another day. You can always be a better person tomorrow. You can always choose better for yourself tomorrow. Tapi that one bad meal akan spoil your whole day.
That is actually, you need two things. Prebiotics and probiotics. Kalau GERD dengan gastric, because of the meal time. If let's say you skip meal, your stomach goes empty for long time, your gastric acid producing, and then lama-lama dia akan cause abrasion lah towards your stomach tu, ataupun dia akan cause gas lah. You see your diet, okay, is it comprising of all the macro and micronutrients? Is it balanced or not?